My name is Jeff, and I am a compulsive overeater. And I'm abstinent today because I weigh and measure 3 meals a day off the gray sheet, and I write it down, and I commit it to my sponsor. And I don't eat in between meals, no matter what. And abstinence is the most important thing in my life, without exception. And I want to thank Tess for asking me to come share my experience, strength, and hope. I talk about the fact that I've been in Gray Sheet before in 1987, and I put together a few 24s, but it wasn't um, strong Gray Sheet abstinence. It was iffy. I would call it iffy. And what I've learned this time around, if I don't follow the program as it is suggested, and it's, to me, the way I look at it, I don't know about anybody else, the way I look at it is that the only way that I'm going to be able to maintain my abstinence if I follow it to the letter. So as far as I'm concerned, it's not even a suggestion for me. It's like I have to follow it the way it is written on the Gray Sheet. And I don't try to circumvent it or anything. And because I did it the first time around. I didn't follow the program the way that it was written. Um, I stayed abstinent for about, I can't tell you exactly the whole thing, but I was only around for about 6 years. And then I relapsed and I went back into the food. And it took me a little over 20 years to make it back. But in those 20 years, I mean, I was heavy when I came the first time, but I was even heavier the second time I came back. When I came back, I will tell you that when I came the first time, I was 200, almost 300 pounds. When I came back this time, I was almost 400 pounds. I mean, I was just a couple of pounds away from 400 pounds. And, the funny thing is that before I came back, maybe about a year before that, I was going to Weight Watchers, right? So, I tried to do it. It was like kind of insane, because the thing about Gray Sheet is that once you hear the message of Gray Sheet, and it works for you, and you go back out and then you try to do other things that don't work, the Gray Sheet is sort of like stays with you. It kind of stays with you. But the thing that happened for me is that it stayed with me, but I still had to try something else. I had to keep trying something else, because I was so much into the food by that time, is that the volumes of foods that I was eating, I couldn't imagine myself going back to eating 4 ounces of protein. That was really the funny part, is I didn't, I started seeing in my mind, I started to see like, oh, shoot, I got to go back to 4 ounces. And because when I left, I was eating at least 6 to 8 ounces of protein. And, I wasn't going to get that. I had to go right back again. And, but the insanity was, I used to go to those Weight Watcher meetings, right? I used to actually do the meetings and everything. I said, I'm going to try to do it this way. And I used to sit there and listen to the insanity. I mean, people would say stuff like, they would go to the fruit stand, and this particular fruit was 0 points, and they would eat like 5 pounds or 10 pounds of this particular thing. And in my mind, I knew it was compulsive eating. It was total insanity, but I kept trying to do it. So for about a year, I stayed to try to do it that way. I did lose some weight, uh, but um, but deep down, I knew that the only way that I was going to get any kind of freedom from the food was that if I came back to Gray Sheet. So somewhere around uh, uh, um, August of 2018, I had this notion in my mind. I mean, I had went to, not only was I going to Weight Watchers, but I even was trying a nutritionist, and that failed too. And I was thinking about doing another program, but something just came to me, said, Jeff, you you know, you're fooling yourself. If you're gonna think that you're gonna do it that way, you might as well go back to gray sheet. So I have been away from you know, I always have a lot of respect for people uh, who go back in the food, but they come back the next day, because that's not what happened to me. You know, I had no coordination anymore. You know, my coordination was off, that I would walk and I was so heavy that I had no balance, and I used to fall a lot. You know, you know, I was so heavy that my body, I just couldn't manage it anymore, you know. And the reality was, I didn't really have a life, pretty much, because I would go to work, and when I was out there this time, I had a lot of health issues. You know, I was diabetic. I started out pre-diabetic, and it just went full blown diabetes, and I was on a lot of medications. My blood pressure was out of control. Um, I had just so much stuff going on with me, you know. And I didn't know if it was going to work again, but I knew I had to do something, because, I mean, there would be times I would be in my office and I would get up like really fast, and I would just get dizzy, and I would have to sit back down. I mean, I was in bad shape, you know, I was in really bad shape. And so in that August, I started to think about it, and I said, you know what, I want to go back there to Gray Sheet. So I went on the internet, and I looked it up, because I didn't even know if you guys were still there. I didn't even know if Gray Sheet was still there. That's how long I was away. And I looked it up, and the website came up. I mean, the website is amazing now. I mean, it's a lot. They made a lot of changes to the website since I came back, but they had a listing of of all the trusted servants from Intergroup, and I saw my sponsor's name there. I saw his name there, and his phone number, his email address, right? So I sent him an email, and I actually still have that email. You know, I didn't get rid of it. I kept it. You know, this is 2018. So, and I said to him, I said, listen, this is Jeff. I don't know if you remember me, but you know, I want to come back. Would you take me back as a sponsee? And you know, he didn't answer me right away. And he's still the same way now, because sometimes I send him a email, and or something, I have to call him up. If I really want to talk to him, I just call him. I don't send no emails or nothing, because he don't respond right away. So it took him a couple of days. He responded, and he said, yes, I do remember who you are, and absolutely I will continue to sponsor you. And he told me to show up at Soldiers and Sailors on the Saturday meeting. I went there, and to me, the rest is history. Now, I came back in August, right? But my abstinent date is September 1st. And the reason why I did that is that I said that the first time around, I made many mistakes, okay? And I said that even though we make mistakes in Gray Sheet, there are mistakes, and we talk to our sponsor about those mistakes. But for me, I said, I want to do this as close to, I don't know if we could say perfect. I want to do it as close to perfect as I could get it, but I know there's no perfection, but I'm gonna get as close as I can to that perfection thing. And I told him, and he would call me. He said the following year, when I got a year of abstinence, he says, "Oh, congratulations, Jeff, on your anniversary." I said, "No, no, my abstinent date is September 1st." So all the things that I didn't do before, and all the mistakes that I made before, I corrected all of those things. The first year of my abstinence, it was for me. I didn't take any sponsees, because I had sponsees the first time around. And I did an injustice to those people that I sponsored, because I wasn't following this program correctly. Um, you know, when there was a food change to be made, I made it on my own. Okay. There were times they say weigh a measure with, you know, without exception. I weighed a measure with exception. You know, I did things like that, you know. I didn't get connected to the community. You know, I was making two different fellowships. I came through, I've been clean for through Narcotics Anonymous. It'll be, this is my 38th year. So when I first came to NA, of course, when you go to AA or NA, you all you do is switch addictions. So what ended up happening for me is I put down the alcohol and the drugs, and I picked up the food. And so a year later, 1987, I ended up in Gray Sheet. But I don't look at it as I don't look at it as a failure that I left. The seed was planted, you know, and that's the way I look at it. And this time around, the clarity is amazing for me. The clarity that I have today is amazing. And this is only because, you know, I'm following this thing to the letter. I feel part of the community. I didn't feel part of the community the first time around, and that was because I didn't take people's phone numbers. Um, I could tell you in those 7 years, 6 or 7 years that I was here, I didn't even qualify at a meeting. I used to go to the meetings at the Jan House meeting. I used to go there, and I would sit in the back of the meeting closer to the door. So when the meeting was, the only day that I probably stayed connected was the day that they would go to the restaurant, Grace's. And then I would go I would go to the, hang out with all the GreySheeters, you know, that day. But for the most part, I wasn't connected. I didn't have a good balance. You know, I made more NA meetings than I made Gray Sheet meetings. I had more NA support than I had Gray Sheet support. Uh, and what I found out this time around is that people in that fellowship can't help me with this, with you know, with my food addiction. You know, the only place I'm going to get that help is from here, is from the people in these little boxes. And that was the other thing. Like,
You have 2 minutes left.
thank you so much, Kim. You know, somebody was sharing with me about, like, they were always complaining about the fact that there wasn't enough people in Gray Sheet. And that was before the pandemic happened, so before Zoom and everything. And I told the person like this, I don't know what came over me, but I said, I don't care if it was only me and another person. I'm not going to go back to eating food just because there's not 1,000 or 1,000,000 people doing Gray Sheet. The reality of it is that we have what we have, and as long as there's people doing this, I have a connection, you know, and I don't have to worry about who's not here. I have to deal with the people who are here and that's willing to help me, you know. I don't know what, sometimes when I qualify, I might have a whole bunch of things that I think I should say. And it doesn't come out that way. It's whatever I guess I'm gonna say at that particular time. You know, I hope I would have said something that would help somebody who's here trying to get abstinent and say abstinent. You know, for me, this is like the best thing that I could. This is the biggest gift. I didn't realize how big of a gift it really was until I came back this time around, that I threw it away. But the beautiful thing is that I got back here. Okay, and this is my 6th year back. You know, and September 1st will be 6 year, God willing. You know, I don't know, but for today, you know, you know what? This is going to sound crazy because I used to laugh at all you women that used to do this, because there was more women at that time. Is that I love my food. I love my food. No, I love my food. You know, I do. You know, and I don't eat no matter what. You know, it's all corny. I used to say it was all corny stuff, but it's not. It's real. You know, and I want to thank Tess. Thank you so much for asking me to speak, and the group welcome me here. Thank you.